Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon from Kalam Telecom. We will be starting exactly in the next few minutes as we wait for others to join. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. For those who have just joined our webinar, we will start exactly in the next few minutes as we wait for other attendees to join as well. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining. A very good afternoon and warm welcome from Kalam Telecom. Today, our speakers have lined up a great session against how you can protect yourself against unknown threats and hacks with Sophos Synchronized Security Solution. Before I move on, kindly note, if any of you have any questions during the session, please feel free to write them down in the Q&A window, and our speakers will address them towards the end. Also, towards the end of the session, you will find a feedback form link, which will be put in your chat windows. Would really appreciate your feedback so we could improve and address your concerns in a more efficient way. Now, without further ado, I invite Mr. Nasir Malik, Head of SME Sales from Kalam Telecom, to take us through a very quick journey on Kalam. Nasir, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to this session that we have arranged. And thanks, Ron. You have passed over to me. Here we start. So basically, I'll quickly take you through the journey of Kalam Telecom Bahrain. Kalam Telecom Bahrain has been in business since 2005. So this is over 15 years of time. We are having multiple services that we are offering. We started off on a very small scale, and over a period of 15 years, we have drastically moved on to various licenses that we have obtained, and that has become our success story right now. So we have started in 2005. We were awarded with top 4 licenses for fixed ISP and value-added services. Later on, we had moved on to independent fiber in business districts in Bahrain around 2009. In 2010, we had the largest wireless network deployed all across Bahrain, which was the most quick deployment in Bahrain by that time, and we had been catering to some of large corporates since then. In 2011, we were cash positive. In 2013 to 14, we had acquired two crucial acquisitions of two telecoms in Bahrain, which is Lightspeed and NGNS. And we were also net profit positive at that time. So by 2015 and 16, this is a period where our journey basically, went across the borders. We had our presence in international places where we had deployments in London, in UAE, KSA, Kuwait. And moving forward, we had basically acquired Tawasul Telecom in Kuwait around 2017. And here we started offering managed solutions where SD-WAN, cloud, mobile apps, IPTV, and all these various innovative solutions that we started offering around 2016-17 period. And moving forward again, here officially we had acquired Tawasul Telecom. This gave us an edge to quickly deploy our MPLS and other international global MPLS links, IPLC links, for example, to all customers who were internationally present and were having a challenge to reach to this region. So we were the ones who acquired this Tawasul Telecom and made it easier for them to access these links with quick deployment and providing managed services on these links. In 2019, we were PCI DSS certified, and I'm sure since most of the attendees of the meeting, they are from the IT background, from the security background, and they know that, especially in the financial industry, how important is PCI DSS. So this is basically payment card industry certification that our data center is secured with those standards, and it makes it easier for us to provide co-location and DR site sort of services to our existing customers, or to any of the regional players who would like to invest over here and make a DR site. So we are PCI DSS certified since last year, and the latest one is in 2020 we had launched a NOT cable system. So just to give you a brief on that, as you must have seen some of our social media campaigns where our CEO has explained what's the NOT cable system. So basically, it is the undersea cables that are prone to cut and cause downtimes and all. So we have invested in an underground NOT cable system, which is more secure, and the deployment has just got over recently in the last few months. And we have been we had been quick enough to deploy this with our strong technical team, and we will be able to deploy quick solutions over this cable system over the coming years. What are our strengths? I would like to quickly highlight around 3,000 plus customer database that we have. We have 5 global offices. International partnerships are there. Around 130 plus employees that we have. We have qualified cloud experts. As you know, cloud is the future, private cloud, public cloud. So we have qualified engineers for the same. And again, as I've been stressing out earlier as well, that managed solutions are something that we offer. So we are a proper managed solution provider. And we have discussed about PCI DSS and NOT terrestrial system. Basically, we have been awarded by many of these awards in the past, which is, as you can see, SMB Summit. We were the best enterprise of the year in 2019. We were awarded by His Highness the Crown Prince. Again, we were the best managed ICT provider in 2019. So not purely an ISP, but we are also, as our vision states, that we are an ICT company as well, looking towards the future. We are always trying to be the first ones to bring the innovation to Bahrain and all over the places where we are present. Again, these are the regional managed services that we are providing. Telecom related services, which includes your internet, voice, data, SMS, data center services and all. Managed cloud service. So we have all portfolios of cloud, which is private cloud and public cloud, be it with the partnership of Microsoft Azure or AWS, and also with Vanago Cloud for private cloud services. And we have multiple customers under these portfolios. Again, managed communication and collaboration. We provide hybrid cloud. We provide hybrid email solutions. So such as iSwap, for example, or Office 365. Recently, we have tied up with Zoom, the paid subscriptions for Zoom, where people have been using free subscriptions earlier. I mean, considering the current pandemic where people are working from home, Zoom meetings, of course, cannot last for more than an hour or two. And then again, you have to send the link back to them. So we are a partner with Zoom. We can provide you with the paid services of Zoom as well. Integrated SD-WAN. So software-defined WAN. This has become much famous now. Again, Kalam was the first one in Bahrain to bring software-defined WAN concept by tying up with Versa Networks. And over the period of last 2 years, now we have tied up with Viptela and Nuage Networks as well, which is from Nokia. So we have customers who are using it in Bahrain, in Saudi, in UAE, as well as within Bahrain. There are customers who are using it for 17 to 18 branches. And so software-defined network, basically, it gives you manageability from your head office and gives you visibility of your branches. And now coming towards managed cybersecurity. So this is something that we are going to discuss about today. Sophos is basically something which we have tied up with. Sophos is a much famous cybersecurity related company that provides you with endpoint protection and multiple other products that my colleague will explain to you shortly. So our data center, quickly, I mean, we are PCI DSS certified. We are present in Al Moyed Tower, as well as in GCCIA in Jasra. That's our secondary data center. And in UAE as well, we are present in Smart Hub, which is Ittisala Data Center, and Equinix Data Center, which is, again, very much famous. If your company has affiliation with offshore companies, they will talk about this. I mean, Equinix Data Center is a really well-known one. So this gives us an edge to quickly deploy solutions and services all across the region, the MENA region, and beyond that. In Kuwait, as I said, Tawasul Telecom is a Kalam Telecom company right now. So we have a data center in Tawasul as well. So again, linking it to the same thing that we are present regionally, and we can quickly deploy some really good, quick solutions for you guys all across the region. As I was discussing about NOT, so this is basically the wired system, which is the optical transit fiber system, which will connect you to, which connects Kalam to all different countries which are present over here. UK, Jordan, for example, Germany, Oman, Hong Kong, all the way to Singapore as well. Quickly, I'll take you through some of our customers that are in different industry segments. We are present in the banking, hospitality, education, government, engineering, and all across Bahrain. I mean, we can take this discussion individually with your account managers as well to give you references. Coming to the main point of today's agenda, which is basically about Sophos. So Kalam has actually started this digital summit series after the pandemic happened. So we started over webinars. So we have done multiple sessions for cloud, for SD-WAN, for emails, Zoom, and moving on to cybersecurity, which is Sophos. So in Sophos, my colleague will be speaking to you now. So I would like to introduce you to Kayur Shah. He's a senior sales engineer for Sophos, and he's going to take you through a beautiful journey of what Sophos is and how basically it can benefit you in terms of security. Over to you, Kayur Shah.
Thank you very much, Nasir. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me share my screen first so we can start our session. All right. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. And thank you very much for attending the session and joining us to talk about how the current threat landscapes are and how Sophos can help you to protect against such kind of zero-day threats, right? So the agenda of the session would be, I'll be keeping very short, but then I'm gonna very much interested to talk about the kind of issues which we have and what kind of solutions which can provide by Sophos. So this will be the agenda of, like, I'm going to talk about the cyber threat landscape. I'm going to talk about the Sophos security. I'll talk about one customer, how exactly he has benefited with Sophos as a whole end-to-end solution, right? So let's start. So before I start, I wanted to talk about a little bit of Sophos. So Sophos has been founded in 1985 as a as an antivirus company, and we have, like, Sophos has started since beginning as a security company, and it's remained in security field also. Okay, we have 3,600 plus employees across the globe and 400,000 plus customers. We are protecting 150 million users, okay, from the zero-day threats. We are having a channel model, and we have 47,000 plus channel partners. So the important part is, like, what are the current cyber threat landscape, okay, and why should we be worried about the cyber attacks? What exactly this cyber attacks leads to, right? So cyber attacks leads to a data loss. So maybe if you are in bank, okay, and imagine because of the attack, your customer database has got breached, or maybe it's leaked, okay. So then you have that entire credit card details and everything, so it can really have hit you hard on your business. Similarly, I mean, the same attack, if I am using that database for some malicious purpose, okay, it can really ruin my entire business, okay, and the cost. Because if I have the data, okay, I can obviously use that data in a various way. Maybe I can just use it for the malicious purpose, or I can just post it over just to ruin your entire you can say reputation. I can just put it somewhere, or your customer database or somewhere else. So this is how the area of concern. So cyber attacks means it really leads to a concern, right? It's going to be hitting you hard on your business, okay. But I'm sure that people have deployed a lot many securities, and they are just trying to protect against the threat, but then still the organizations are struggling. Why? So the first and foremost option is, attacks never come from the single source or single direction, okay. It comes from the multiple directions. So if you see, you will get an email attacks, maybe in the phishing attacks or something like that. You will come across some malicious websites. From there directly the payloads will be installed in your machines, okay. There are softwares where there is a vulnerability which attackers are actually trying and exploiting it. And obviously this is the one of the oldest trick to use an attack, to use some USB drive or maybe external devices, okay. And if there are 20% of attacks, you really don't know how exactly it entered, right? Second part is, the attacks are now there is no generic broadcast nowadays, or generic outbreak of the virus, okay. It was an earlier stage, like 90s, or decade away. There was kind of a general outbreak happens, but now the attacks are very stage form. So I'm going to discuss about how the cyber chain works and everything, okay. So the attacks are into the staged manner. They will they can attack with the emails, then they will do the data breach, then they will install the payload, exploit the software vulnerability, and multiple way of, they can just run the ransomware in your machine, and then they will ask you for the ransom amount, right? The third, and which is very important for all organizations, they are struggling with technology talent and the time, okay. So they do not have the skilled persons, right? Now, for example, you really don't understand what exactly the attack means, okay. I mean, you will not be able to take the proactive actions, right? So this is another example, like, okay, you really need a person, or people who understand the security, and then they can take an actions on. So that's another challenge of organization. And the most important part in the current situation is, every organization struggling with a sufficient budget, right? So they keep this they just adjust with the headcounts, or maybe they will adjust with the kind of solutions, something like that. So because of the insufficient budget, they will just try and juggle around with some more of other workarounds, right? So that's where we really come into the picture, where in Sophos, we believe it has to be a next gen solution which can actually give you a kind of a complete protection. And how exactly it will be, I'm going to talk about it now. So I'm sure that everybody has heard about the cyber kill chain. Am I right? So cyber kill chain is nothing but the kind of a kill chain, which is the formula where the attackers are going in a very managed way. They just don't try to attack randomly. They will go in a very staged manner. So first is recon. They will try to gather the information. Then they will do the weaponization, like how the which are the best attack techniques I should use it. Okay. Then they will talk about the delivery. When we talk about the delivery could be a multiple ways. Okay. So this solution, as the attackers are in staged manner, our solution should also in kind of protect all this attacks in a layered approach, right? So let's talk about how the layered approach will work in Sophos. Okay. So the first method which cyber attackers will be, or the attackers will be using it, is like delivery. So there are different form of delivery. I will give you a very simple example. Okay. If I wanted to exploit your organization network, okay, what is the simplest way I can do is I can come to your, maybe an office, and I can just put some very nice fancy, pen drive in, maybe some of on your reception, some of you in a parking lot. Maybe you are the IT guy, so you understand that how exactly this, pen drive should be used. You will go to the chaos machine. But then what about the layman users, the kind of accountants, kind of the data entry operators? They really don't know what they do. They simply pick that pen drive, plug into the machine, and that's it. You're gone. So this is one way of delivery. Second is, like, if you are browsing some websites, you might be seeing that there are a lot of ads coming in. Okay. And users are keep on clicking here and there, and they directly, or maybe, or intentionally or unintentionally, land up onto the malicious websites. And from there, the attackers will be able to exploit or get the control of your machine. So Sophos has a control in a way so that we will be blocking all this malicious websites. We can also whitelist the peripherals. Like, for example, I do not want to allow USB sticks, everyone to use that USB sticks. I can see that, okay, for example, I'm a Sophos. Okay, so I just want my 10 USB drives only should be allowed to use in my organization. Apart from that, nobody should be able to use their own pen drive. I can do that way. Okay. So this is how I can block the delivery itself. So from the very beginning of that attack, we will be able to protect it. The second and very, very interesting part of is nowadays is the exploitation. So nowadays, if you see, the attacks are very much targeted. I really want that particular organization I wanted to exploit. I can simply identify. I will just go and do the scan of entire organization, what they are using and all. So I will try to find out vulnerabilities, and then I will do the exploit, right? Now imagine how many vulnerabilities will be there in the software, or maybe into the IT. I'm sure you don't have any number, right? So because I also don't have any number. So until unless the vulnerabilities are not disclosed, you really don't know there is a vulnerability. So what Sophos does, instead of like the other solutions, what they do is they give you the vulnerability patch or virtual patch or something like that. We in Sophos thinks like a hacker. Okay. So what normally hackers do, they are less bothered about the kind of vulnerabilities and all. They identify the vulnerabilities, and what normally hackers do, they use exploit techniques. And this exploit techniques are, there are 25 techniques which attackers are using in combinations to exploit any new or unknown vulnerabilities, right? So what Sophos does, instead of focusing on vulnerabilities and the signatures for that, we focus on the hacking techniques, like the exploit techniques. So basically, instead of looking around for the virtual patch, we will be, as soon as the hacking techniques, the exploit technique would be used, we will be able to block that immediately. Okay, I'm going to show you this in my next video. Okay, that will be really interesting. Okay, now the second layer, the third layer will come is the kind of an installation, right? For example, somehow you got the payload on your machine, right? And now I wanted to install, I'm going to install that. So this is another unique, you can say, technology. What we have in Sophos is we have a deep learning technology. So basically, what does it mean? So we use the artificial intelligence and the neural network science, okay, to identify any kind of zero-day threats. Now you might be have a question, what does it mean exactly? So I'll give you a very layman example. Okay, when we see a dog and when we see a cat, can we differentiate? Yes, obviously. But then how we can differentiate that? So we see the kind of a style of the size of the animal, we see the kind of a color, we see the eyes, we see the barking style of the voice. Okay, so there are a lot of attributes, and properties we see, right? So this is how our brain identifies that, okay, this is a dog, this is a cat, right? So, and again, our brain is also working in the kind of a precision, it's an assumption, right? So it will be like precision of 99.99999%, right? Exactly the same technology we developed. Okay, so what we did is we have developed a technology and we put it on the engine, okay, which is in there in your machine itself, and we train this engine which is based on the neural networks, and we feed them millions of malware samples. So now if you will come across any zero-day threats today, still this engine will be able to identify. And again, we really don't require to send every file on the cloud, because we are putting this engine on your machine itself. So even though your machine is not connected to the internet, and if somebody is trying to do a zero day threats with the kind of a USB drive or something like that, still Sophos will be able to protect it, right? So this is what the kind of excellent technology what we have, and that's why if you talk about any third party report, for example NSS lab reports or SC lab reports, you will find Sophos will be on the highest protection rate. Okay, second, the other layer is, for example, sometimes it happens that, okay, systems are already compromised and then you are using this solution. Okay, even though Sophos is installed on the compromised machine, and if the machine is trying to do a kind of a command and control kind of communication, still Sophos will be able to identify that and will be able to block it, right? Now, at the end, for example, the payload has been already landed and user is able to actually run that particular payload, but still we have the anti-ransomware technology, which will be able to identify that this is the ransomware and we have to block it. Now, how exactly it works? Basically, what is the behavior of the ransomware? It will start doing the encryption of the files, right? Now, how many applications which does this encryption, like normal encryption, right? So there are very, very few applications which does this. So what Sophos anti-malware engine has is have an intelligence that, okay, it knows that which all genuine application can do that encryption, right? But then apart from that, if it identifies that any other process is doing an encryption, what Sophos will do, the endpoint will actually copy that file into the cache area. Then it will allow that particular process to run through to declare whether it's a ransomware attack or not. As soon as the Sophos endpoint will identify this is a ransomware attack, it will stop that process, clean up that ransomware, and it will restore back the original file from the cache area to the original location. So as an administrator, you will just get a notification that, okay, the ransomware has been blocked, but you really don't need to do all this activity. It is all automated. Okay, so that's how the Sophos Intercept X Advanced works. Now, I am sure that I have given you a lot of things as an understanding, but I really wanted to show you how actually the kill chain starts and how Sophos the Sophos endpoint agent will be protecting in each layer. Okay, so I'm just starting this. So let's understand this. Okay, so whatever I've talked about it, like whatever the features I've talked about it, everything is there in a single agent. Whether you are using Intercept X Advanced or with the EDR, whether you are using the device encryption, everything will be in a single agent. So you really don't need to install multiple agents. That's the first and foremost important thing. Now, secondly, whatever feature I'm talking about, it is all allow. You can see the visibility here, and you can enable and disable that. So now let's start. So like for example, the customer has started, plugging the USB sticks, but then we have USB blocked because we have allowed only few USBs for organization. So you can simply see the message that USB has been blocked by administrator, right? Sometimes the users are very nasty, they just go on, some kind of a uTorrent or BitTorrent to download the kind of a crack software, or maybe for the movies or something. Okay, but then we can block that with the application control. All right, Now let's start the real kill chain. Exactly what happens. Okay, so normally what happens, the user gets a phishing email, right? So it will look like it is coming from the Microsoft, and it will ask you to upgrade this particular machine, right? So what normally user will do, that okay, user will say, okay, I need to install the patch because my system may be vulnerable, right? So you will simply click on that link. But you can see here, as soon as the clicked on that particular link, Sophos will check whether that URL is genuine or clean URL, or it's malicious URL. So it will be immediately blocked. Now, for example, let's see, we will bypass this particular layer. Okay, we really wanted to allow that users to download that malicious file. Okay, so let's go on and enter again. So I will be able to download this particular exe here. You can see this exe has been downloaded, but immediately the Sophos deep learning got popped up because before it gets executed, Sophos has matched with multiple billions of samples to identify whether it's a kind of a zero-day threats or what. So we are able to identify that immediately. Okay. Now let's see the other point. For example, okay, I have one HTTP script. So I'm trying to connect to a particular website, though it is malicious, but I have allowed it. And I'm trying to download a particular HTTP script, right? So you can see here, as soon as the HTTP script is being, trying to download it, it's just, blocked it because we checked the download reputation. The source from where we are downloading it's authenticated or something else. So now we really wanted allow that users to do download and try to breach our system. So we are disabling that deep learning, we are disabling the file scan, we are disabling the internet traffic scan. Again, we are able to download that, but still our malicious traffic detection and the host-based IPS is triggered because we actually also identify the script and what that exactly script does. Okay, so now again the second defense of layer, we will be disabling it. So I will be disabling this malicious traffic detection, I will be disabling the malicious behavior detection, the HIPS, and now I will download the script. Okay, now if I download the script and if I try to run from the same browser, it will say again that process lockdown because Sophos endpoint knows that which process function what. So the browser should not call the PowerShell and to run or hook up something on the kernel, right? So it will be immediately blocked. So we lock the processes, right? Now user is completely, very smart. Maybe he's a techie guy. So he just go to the download folder and from there it's running. But as soon as it's try to run that HTTP script, our application control is again popped up. It has blocked that particular, you can say the PowerShell, and because of that, the user will not be able to execute this. Okay, now I will go back and I will disable the PowerShell also, like the application control also. Let this user check whether our engine is working or not. So you can see now we have just enabled the anti-ransomware. Okay, apart from that, we don't have anything on the machine, on the endpoint, right? So I'm just downloading it. The script is able to communicate to the command and control center, and now it's downloading this actual ransomware. And as soon as the ransomware got downloaded, the Sophos endpoint has identified that particular solution, attack, and then it has been blocked. Again, we will also revert back that encrypted files to the original location. Okay, so user as an administrator, you really don't need to worry about it. Now I'm sure that the Kali Linux. The Kali Linux is basically a kind of tool which mostly attacker is using it to get the control of the machine. So you can see here, as soon as I run that particular script, I'm able to get the machine access. So this is completely a targeted attack, and I'm exploiting that machine to capture the credentials. Like I really want administrator password, right? So what I'll do is I'll be using this exploit with the interpreter. I will be able to do the hash dumps. Okay, so here I'm just doing the hash dumps, and then you can see still I'm able to not able to get this any of the details from that machine because the Sophos endpoint is installed, and you can see the credential guard, which is again the kind of hacking technique. Okay, it's been blocked, identified, and blocked. So this is how we have Sophos in a way of protecting against all type of layers. Okay, so again, very important part. So we have very strong endpoint protection. So basically, we know that whenever there is a threat or there is a zero-day threat, okay, we will be surely blocking that. But it is not enough nowadays. Okay, we need to be proactive rather than reactive. Okay, so what we have is we have Sophos EDR in place. In Sophos EDR, we really don't require to install a server. We really don't require an experts to be placed, because if you see the other ADS solution, you really need a people who actually can manage that solutions. You really require to invest on the in the hardware. You really require to invest on the humans, like the people who can manage the system. And then you really need to know that these people will be updated, right? So that's where, instead of doing all this, Sophos just gives you EDR with the guided investigation and response. So basically, Cloud Console, and on that, you will get all this visibility that what is going on, how threat came in. So here you can see on my screen that particular user, Morris, has received the email, and that email was containing the malicious file, okay, which has been detected. It is cleaned and blocked, right? If I wanted to do some more investigation, like for example, I really wanted to see is there any kind of suspicious processes are running in my network or not, I can do that investigation. I can submit that suspicious processes, or you can say the files, to the Sophos labs, and Sophos labs will provide you a kind of a threat intelligence by comparing with the millions of those samples, and then you can take the actions, whether it's a clean file or it's a kind of a malicious files, right? So this is how Sophos will help you in investigation. Now, it is not that enough. I can also do the threat hunting. So I can also do the search, like, do I have similar type of file in my any of the machine? So I can go with the file name search. I can go with the IP address based search. I can also identify, I can also get the hash of that particular file, and can search from entire, assets, or from entire my network, right? So this is how Sophos EDR will help you to be a proactive, and it will give you a complete insight of your network. Now, when you go with the Sophos solution, okay, you will have a complete control of your network. Now, how exactly I mean to say the complete control. So when I say complete control, without touching to the user's machine, without taking any of the Zoom access or maybe a remote desktop, I can still control the entire user's machine. So we have an option called Live Discover. So for example, I really wanted to know that which all are softwares and running in the user's machine. I can simply fire a query from the Sophos console, okay, and I can get the details on. You can also identify by firing a query saying that whether that user's machine has RDP enabled or it's disabled. Similarly, is that user's firewall is enabled or disabled, right? So this is how I can get complete IT insight of whether my users are using a crack software, which are the operating system, which are the patch they are running, what all patch they are running right now. Okay, so this is how complete insight you will get. Now, what do I do with that insight? So you can also take a response, right? So for example, I really do not want that users to enable the RDP access. So I can simply fire a command, or you can say the query, and then I can disable the RDP on the user's machine. Similarly, I really do not want users to install a kind of a crack software or maybe unauthorized software. I can simply uninstall it from the Cloud Console of the Sophos itself. Okay. Similarly, I can go and identify that what kind of script I wanted to run on the user's machine. I can simply do that. So this is how all the live response you can do it. So that's the kind of a control you will get it when you will use Sophos endpoint solution. So that's where we call it as a power of plus. So we have all the foundational antivirus. We have CryptoGuard for the ransomware. We have deep learning technology, okay, which is for the zero-day threats. And we also have an anti-exploits, and this is what all I'm talking about is in the single agent. Okay, so in the single next gen endpoint security, you can see here that it covers all the aspects of the endpoint, okay, of the users, like what exactly you want to control at the peripherals, or maybe applications, or web control, or firewall. Similarly, I can go with the pre-execution and code execution kind of a protection levels. Then again, visibility and response is again another important aspects of that endpoint solution, which we are effectively providing that. Okay, so that's why this is the kind of a granular control what we have in Sophos, and that's the reason if you talk about any third party analyst, so that's why I mean, just don't believe on us, just don't believe by yourself, but these are the official third party evaluators, which will be actually evaluating the multiple competitor vendors, and then they will give you a ratings on. You can say Sophos has been ranked everywhere on #1 position, because we have again a very good technology and very much in layered approach of defense. So that's how Sophos has been ranked as #1 position. Now I wanted to talk about the synchronized security in Sophos. So basically, Sophos is the one who was the evaluator, or you can say the innovator of synchronized security strategy. So now I'll give you a very simple layman example, right? Now in people are using the point solution, maybe just an endpoint or just a firewall. Now imagine you don't have, I'll give you a very layman example. So one security guard is sitting outside of the building, which is taking care of the parking, and one security guard who is sitting inside the office, who takes care of the employees and everything. Now imagine these two security guards are not talking to each other, right? So, and there is a fire on the floor. What will happen? People will go out of the building, and the other guard, who is not even aware of what is going on, he will ask people to park the car and send the people inside the building, and that will be the chaos. This is what exactly happens into the IT industry right now. Okay, you have X firewall and Y endpoint, and again, these two products are not sharing the threat intelligence, right? So what will happen if I'm an attacker? I will simply capture the particular IT manager's machine, which has incomplete entire access of entire network. So though I have I captured the IT manager's machine, he has an access of everything. So whenever I will go to the firewall, firewall will simply allow me to go and access to all the server farms and everything, right? So the beauty of this Sophos is it will share the threat intelligence with all other products. So whether it's a Sophos XG firewall, like mobile and wireless, or the email server protection and web protection, so all the way Sophos will share the threat intelligence with each other. I really wanted to show you that how security, this endpoint security, the synchronized security works together. So in here, in this example, I have Sophos XG firewall and Sophos endpoint installed together. So now let's see if there is an attack. Okay, what happens? So this is my endpoint, which is installed on my user's machine, and this is my firewall, on which is this endpoint is already connected. So now on the firewall, I have created a rule saying that yes, you should be allowed everything from LAN to WAN, everything is allowed, okay? But provided your machine status, the machine health has to be green. So that machine has to be clean, right? If there is an attack, okay, the access has to be blocked. Now I'm just trying to open a particular email which has a threat. So I'm just trying and opening up, and it seems like there is a fishy, or there is a malicious payload inside. And yes, it was the ransomware. So my machine status got turned into the red, and you can simply say here, then on the firewall also you can see that machine is on risk. Okay, so now if I am a user, if I'm trying to browse internet, it will simply block me here, that your access is denied, though it is all allowed in the firewall. But since my machine has found there is a threat, okay, the firewall has also blocked that entire access. Now you can see here that endpoint has automatically cleaned up that particular malware, and then similarly it will get reflected back to the Sophos firewall also. Okay, and now if you see, I will be able to access the internet. So this is completely automated system, You really don't require to intervene, but then yes, it functions as a system, not as an individual, solution. So that's how we always encourage that our users to use cybersecurity as a system. Okay, it is not a point solution no more. It's a way of protecting the systems in a kind of a point solution. Your solution should be able to share the threat intelligence with each other. Okay, and that's how you can immediately protect against the zero-day threats by doing the analysis, adapting the new technology and the new way of dynamic policies, and then automated way of protecting the threats, right? So this is the way of you should protect against the kind of the current threat landscape. Okay, now I wanted to give you a little bit of idea that why Sophos. Okay, and I'm sure you are seeing on my slide. Okay, there are big names like Cisco, Blue Coat, Juniper, WatchGuard, and then there are so on and so forth. Why I have written the names here? Because these are the vendors who are trusting the Sophos as a security solution. Okay, they are using Sophos engine in their product to protect their customers. So that's the kind of confidence what we have. So that's the kind of a trust in security industry Sophos has gained. Okay, so basically, again, I'm sure that the Cisco. Cisco is a big cash-rich company. You can go and buy any company, right? But still, they are believing in Sophos. Why? Because the Sophos has very strong solutions and strong data scientist team or security analyst team who can actually create a better solution for their customers. And that's why I just wanted to give you a real recent development that Google has also signed up with the Sophos, and now onwards whatever documents you are storing on Google Drive or emails which is on Google will be scanned by Sophos security only. So that's the kind of a trust what we have on into the industry, right? Now, I wanted to just discuss about one case study that one of the big name in Middle East, Jumal Majid. I'm sure that you guys are aware of this. Okay, so the customer who is working in different verticals. The group of companies have companies into the automobile, contracting services, FMCG, investments, and so on and so forth, with 400,000 plus customers. Sorry, users. Okay, and then they are using the complete Sophos product portfolio to protect their organizations. They are using Sophos XG firewall in head office and HA, and all the branch offices are connected to Sophos XG firewall. Again, the branch offices also having the Sophos solution only. Okay, they all have Sophos endpoint installed, and they are working together as a cybersecurity as a system. Okay, they're also using Sophos team as a Sophos security analysis team. What we are providing as a managed threat response as a services. So they also use Sophos managed threat response as a services to protect their users against the zero threats. And they also use the cloud optics to protect against that cloud infrastructure threats. So they are moving on a cloud now, and they are using Sophos in a cloud also equivalently. Okay, so that's how we have one of the customer, and then I just put it very few names, but then we have plenty of others in all the verticals, be it your banking, government, or maybe in enterprise. Okay, but there are a few names which might be you are aware of. There's a Landmark Group, Carrefour, Lulu, NMC, Miraz. These are all Sophos customers, right? So that's it from my side, and I'm opening up with a question and answer. So over to you, Mr. Ronald. Thank you very much. I'm just stopping my screen to share.
Thank you so much, Kayur. This was really a great session, and for the fact that in today's digital world, we access so many websites on daily basis. We save our passwords online and many other things, and knowing that these could be hacked or manipulated, it really puts a fear in our hearts. So this is something really good to see that Sophos, how it really is so strong in multiple layers, and is really, I think, as an IT or as a person who is doing a lot of browsing or digital work, I think Sophos would really give them a good night's sleep at the end, knowing that there is something that is taking care of my machine at the end. So thank you so much for this great presentation, Kayur. Now the questions are we have some questions, Kayur, and I also would ask the others to put some questions down in the Q&A window, and we
Sure.
will answer them one by one. Yeah. So
Sure.
I'll read out the first question for you, Kayur.
Sure.
So the first question is from Ruther. Hi, in the live response, do Sophos need an admin access in a specific laptop or computer in uninstalling the software or disabling some Windows apps?
So yes, so basically when we install the Sophos agent, okay, it has that admin control. So we are not going to have admin control again, because we are going to ask, that we are going to use that user which has been, we have used while installation of the Sophos endpoint. So we really don't require, to get another admin access control to uninstall particular software. So we can straight away fire a command from the command prompt, okay, which is basically run as an admin only on the user's machine, and then we can uninstall or we can disable the certain features of Windows or certain software we wanted to uninstall. Yeah.
Thank you, Kayur. I hope that is your question is answered, Ruther. Now moving on to the next question from Ratna Kumar. What about any other IoT devices? Are they compromised?
Okay. So basically in IoT devices, so I was talking about, how we are allowing that access to the network. So as soon as they will enter or try to connect to the Sophos, I mean, like into the network, maybe it's a Sophos wireless access points, or if it is, firewall or endpoint, we do have a solutions for, for the mobile devices also. So as soon as, if you have solution installed, okay, and then if there's if it identifies there is a breach, okay, or else the secondly might be, you might have a questions, what if I don't have uh, endpoint installed on my machine, right? So we also have an option in firewall saying that if I am not getting any kind of heartbeat, okay, that means either that machine doesn't have an endpoint, or that machine is breached and maybe attacker has disabled the endpoint. So I will not allow any access. So practically we can block all this kind of attacks which is being trying to enter into the network.
Thank you so much, Kayur. Moving on to the next question, which is any known loophole or drawback seen so far in Sophos, as nothing is 100% perfect?
See, this is something why kind of a tricky questions, because as soon as if we know the loopholes, okay, we will never keep it as open, right? So being a security company, am I sure? So as such, nothing is open still. Otherwise, it will be very, very, being a security company, it will be a big hit on us as in business also. But yeah, over a period of time, I'm sure that if something is coming up, our team is always working 24/7. If it comes up, as I said, I also agree with you that nothing is 100% into the security industry. I'm not saying that we are always 100%, but then as of now, there is nothing open we have, okay, and it is nothing in notice in our as of now. We have a team in 24/7 monitoring and working with the scientists, okay. So we can definitely avoid any kind of hits on the customer before it comes to the customer level. We have a lot of honeypots installed, so we will be able to get that attacks over there itself before it comes to the customer's networks.
Thank you, Kayur. Now, again, the floor is open. If any of you have any questions, please feel free. Okay, I have another question from Ruther again.
Yeah.
For educational institutions, what are the features or services of Sophos you recommend?
Yes, that's a very nice question, basically, because that's an education in institutes we have come across that, because the students are very, very smart. They just want to bypass the security. I mean, this way or that way, just try and do everything, right? So we always recommend that go with the Sophos, endpoint and firewall together, because that's the way you can have a complete control of your entire network. Okay, we have a very, very strong firewall which will not allow any kind of applications, maybe kind of you can say ultra surf to bypass the kind of a firewalls or something, and endpoints which will, as I shown you earlier, that any kind of a zero-day threats, because these students are always trying and playing around with a lot of USB sticks. They will try to download some movies or crack softwares. So we can really take a control of those type of activities with the especially for the educational institute kind of networks.
Thank you. I have another question that's come up. is there any impact of Sophos on client machine like slowness, etc.?
So as far as we know, we have seen very less instances of the slowness, because in that those instances were with the old legacy operating system with the very low hardware configuration, maybe 1 GB of RAM. This now practically, even mobiles are getting more than 4 GB RAM or maybe 2 GB RAM. So but then if you have kind of a minimum recommended configuration of Sophos endpoint operating systems, we really don't feel any kind of slowness.
Thanks, Kier. This is a continuation question, which is there any conflict seen so far by Sophos?
I really need to understand, what do you mean by conflict? Are you talking about the conflict with the another antivirus installed on the machine, or anything other application which has been installed in the machine? How exactly you are trying to post the question? So I will answer it in that way.
Okay, the
Okay,
questions
yes.
come again in continuation, which
Perfect.
is any conflict seen so far by Sophos with any other endpoint protection or application?
So, which is very obvious. If you have other endpoint already installed, for example, if you are using, I'm just taking a name as in for just an example. If you are installing some maybe a semantic endpoint or maybe a Kaspersky endpoint, or if it is already installed and if you are trying to install Sophos as a full suite, okay, then definitely there'll be a conflict. But in that case, if you already have some X antivirus, okay, and then that antivirus doesn't have capability of anti-ransomware, then I would suggest only Intercept X, which can work along with your existing antivirus. Sorry.
Great.
So
Thanks,
basically, so Ronald, just to give you a little more on that. So so basically, you might have, I mean, that question, the network could be like, you already have a Symantec or maybe X antivirus, which doesn't have this kind of capability of going protecting against the zero-day threats or ransomware. So what you can do is you can just install the Intercept X component, okay, not the entire full suite. Otherwise, it will be a conflict.
Thank you for the clarification, Kier. We have another question. Can we get customized reports to meet the requirements of audits, risks, and compliance of the authorities or agency?
So yes, we have quite a good amount of reports on the Sophos. We can also integrate Sophos with the same solution so that you can post it your own way of reporting. Again, we are coming up with a new product called XDR, which we are going to give you the complete data lake access. Okay, so there where you can fire a query and you can generate your own way of reports. That will be in the pipeline, but then yes, still we are able to integrate with any of the same solution. So you can definitely use that solution integration to go with the compliance and all. Yeah.
Thanks, Kier.
Yeah.
I have another question. Can we spin Sophos licenses on a virtualized server?
Yes, definitely. Why not? So Sophos has a capability of working with in public cloud infrastructure like AWS, Google, GPC, or you can say the Azure. Or else, if you have, for example, existing infrastructure like an Hyper-V or VMware, you can also use Sophos virtualized SSVM basically to make sure that your VMware infrastructure will be protected.
Thanks, Kier. We have another very interesting question. So we've spoken about kill chain, right? So how
Yeah.
does Sophos protect the network like an intruder, but acting as a genuine user?
So this is a quite interesting topic to discuss about, because we really need to see what all activities that particular user is doing it. Okay. As I said that, okay, this command and control. If you see the user were, I mean, in my video, I've shown that, okay, that user was seemingly like a normal user, but then he was trying to connect to the command and control center, right? Which is a Kali Linux. Still, we will be able to identify that particular activity. Okay. Again, if you have seen, I have disabled this malicious traffic detection and host-based IPS, which is again a kind of, we see a kind of a traffic pattern which is going out of the machine, and we really see that what exactly that users are doing. So even though it's a genuine user, maybe attacker might be hosted, like hostile that particular machine and trying to do some malicious things. we will be still able to identify that type of activities and we will be able to block it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Keyur. Now we have a few minutes. If anyone has any questions. Okay, I have another question that's come up. Does Sophos keep an eye on CPU and memory utilization?
So basically, Sophos as an endpoint will never limit that particular CPU or memory utilization, but then we do a minimal use of CPU and memory utilization. If there is a generic scan, if you are explicitly if you are running this scans, then you may see the little bit of CPU utilization, but otherwise over and above, if it is a normal scan like the background scan, it will not utilize much of CPU and memory utilization.
Thank you, Keyur. Few more questions, anyone? Okay, I think it's the same question with a continuation, which is also with an application utilizing memory. Does Sophos check any application utilizing memory?
No, not really, because we really don't know that which application you are working with and why he's utilizing so much of memory. I'll give you a very simple example. If you are talking about if you're talking about Microsoft, sorry, Adobe, AutoCAD or those kind of applications, or maybe Photoshop, okay, which might take your 8 GB or 9 GB of RAM straight away because you are loading the high value images over there. So we really don't keep an eye on which application utilizing what kind of memories. But yes, if the particular application is trying to capture or run the piece of code in between that on memory space, or if they are trying to change the memory address, then we will definitely jump in and we will kill that type of activities. So basically, what we do is we see that what kind of memory activities are going on, but we do not limit that the utilization of the memory.
Okay, thanks, Keyur. I hope this has answered the question. Any other questions before we wrap up? Okay, I guess most of the questions have been asked. Well,
Great.
a big thank you to everyone for attending today's session. Before you leave the session, you will find a feedback form link. We would really appreciate if you could answer them, which will really help us to improve and address your concerns. And also, if you are interested in Sophos, please contact your dedicated manager from Kalam, and we will really be excited and delightful to take you forward on this journey of security, which is very important these days. Thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Keyur, and thank you, Nasser, as well, for the Kalam introduction. And now the webinar session will end shortly.
Thank you, Ronald. Thank you, Nasser. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Take care. Be in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Well done, Nasser.